Also, there are some people that are saying, oh, well, I mean, of course, people care more about a Van Gogh painting that's priceless than some random dude in the United States who burned himself alive in protest of climate inaction. You hearing yourself right now? If you're saying that, if that's your thought, you really think a human life is worth less than a Van Gogh painting? No, listen, I understand. Van Gogh paintings, it's a work of art. This man, he's a historical figure. He's got a big portfolio, but an individual human life, not the same dollar amount as a Van Gogh painting? Come on, you gotta be joking. Would you trade your life for a Van Gogh painting? I wouldn't. So much the same way that people suddenly care about James Madison's Crystal Flute, or they suddenly care about Velma apparently being a lesbian now, even though she kind of always has been bisexual. Now people suddenly care about Van Gogh paintings in some, I think, UK museum. So these people, both of which have genderqueer haircuts, one of them has pink hair, not even blue hair. That's another level up. They gotta have pronouns. They're apparently staging a protest against climate change by, in the words of Disclosed TV, you know, the authoritative source, defiling Van Gogh's sunflowers at the National Gallery. And then they glued themselves to the wall. So let's see what it's all about. Oh my God! There's a protective covering on there. That was the most European security I've ever heard. I've not actually listened to the audio of this video. As far as I'm aware, there's a protective covering on that.
What is worth more?
What is worth more? I'm sorry, man. Listen, some people say it's not a good look to throw soup on a Van Gogh painting and it kind of makes climate activists look bad. But frankly, sounding like that and being British to begin with, also kind of a strike against you. What is worth more? Oh, you got a license for that fossil fuel, yeah?
Art or life?
Is it
worth more than food? Worth more than justice? Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting or the protection of our planet and people?
If you had a chance to change your fate, would you? I mean, frankly, I would, but, you know, change the world's fate. So this is not the worst message, right? You go to the museum, you imagine that this museum is probably frequented by more wealthy people because art is a rich man's game. It's all just a method of investment vehicles and money moving your assets and whatnot. It's a rich man's game. So you go to the rich man's house, you make the statement, are you more concerned about the protection of a painting, where people are very clearly more in favor of the protection of a painting because that's what people give a shit about in this story, or the protection of our planet and our people? I think that's a fair message. You know, whatever the messenger is, I don't give a shit. Disembody the message. It's a fair message.
The cost of living crisis is part of the cost of oil crisis. Fuel is unaffordable to millions of cold, hungry families. They can't even afford to heat a tin of soup.
It's true. I mean, it's true. Like, I don't care about these people. I don't know who they are, whatever. The message is good. Perhaps the methods were a misstep. All I know is what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing is not the worst message. And yeah, the museum has said that they didn't damage the painting. So, yeah. Anyway. People are really pressed about the fact that Van Gogh got tomatoed. And a soup for my family type beat. I don't understand, really, why you would target a Van Gogh painting. But frankly, that's not really that important to me. Because I see on my timeline, you know, I scroll Twitter, I'm terminally online, and I'm seeing on my timeline this video and a bunch of people crying about, oh, well, they fixed climate change now. Ooh, why would you target Van Gogh? He's a dead guy. He wasn't even that popular when he was alive. He got more popular when he was dead. I don't know why people are mad. I don't know why people are pressed. I think I have the best take, frankly. I wrote on Twitter for people asking, why a Van Gogh painting if it's about climate change? Well, let me tell you, a climate activist literally self-immolated in front of the United States Supreme Court building. And y'all don't talk about that as an eighth as much. When that happened, I saw a couple people talking about it. Like, it was a good amount of buzz, but not even close to the amount of coverage that Van Gogh's glass with a painting behind it got tomato soup thrown at it. Not even close to as much. You cannot lie to me and say that people talked about that as much as people talked about this. So for those of you who don't know, on April 22nd, 2022, a climate activist, Wynn Bruce, literally set himself on fire and died in front of the United States Supreme Court building, you know, the major seat of power where decisions are made that have ramifications not only in this country, the wealthiest and most powerful country the face of the earth has ever seen, but also that has ripple effects across the world, burned himself alive on Earth Day as a protest against the climate crisis, and we can assume against the inaction of the powerful people in the United States and the world over to actually take it seriously and do something about it, because us individual human beings, we can't really do that much. We can do a little bit, and we try to lessen our individual carbon footprint, but we're just a couple people. So really, the biggest steps you could take as a society, as a human race, would be to get the most powerful people to actually put in place policies to move us off of fossil fuels as much as we can, because, you know, we still need it for some things, as much as we can, and move toward renewable energy like wind, hydro, nuclear, etc., etc. Nuclear is not really renewable, but it's a lot more efficient and better than fossil fuels, whatever. So doing that would be super cool. And those people have the power to do it, but we just don't have the will to do it because it's a lot of money in that dirty oil, brother. It just is what it is. So I did not see nearly as much as a man literally setting himself on fire about climate change with these kind of protests. I went on to say, y'all are freaking out about the glass over a Van Gogh painting more than the inaction of governments the world over and taking the actual apocalyptic climate crisis seriously. But hey, maybe the painting will outlive us because, you know, listen, we'll be dead and gone. You know, some of us stragglers will be left. I definitely will be because I'm going to live forever. And frankly, the heat, it doesn't really bother me too much. So I'll be there, but it's going to outlive most of us. But like, there have been some people that have kind of given their takes on this tweet. Some people be like, oh my God, well, this guy literally burned himself alive on the Supreme Court building, but he didn't have a camera crew. He didn't have a documentary crew filming his suicide on the steps of the Supreme Court, which frankly, I feel like if I was going to burn myself alive on the Supreme Court steps, I would probably make sure somebody was filming because we live in a society. Turns out, the mere fact, the reality that a man burned himself alive on the Supreme Court steps in protest of climate inaction, the fact that that's the reality we live in and that happened is not enough for people to care because picture it didn't happen. Simple as. Because there wasn't a video for people to ogle about this man's suicide, it's not good enough. You know, you didn't make enough of a social media buzz. You didn't commodify your suicide enough to get enough eyes on your cause. Sorry, Sweaty. Maybe to be a do-over for you in the next life. Fuck it, we ball. So that was one, and that's stupid, because this is something that you should give a damn about, like regardless of if you saw it happen or not. Also, there are some people that are saying, oh, well, I mean, of course people care more about a Van Gogh painting that's priceless than some random dude in the United States who burned himself alive in protest of climate inaction. You hearing yourself right now? If you're saying that, if that's your thought, you really think a human life is worth less than a Van Gogh painting? No, listen, I understand. Van Gogh paintings, it's a work of art. This man, he's a historical figure. He's got a big portfolio, but an individual human life, not the same dollar amount as a Van Gogh painting? Come on. You gotta be joking. Would you trade your life for a Van Gogh painting? I wouldn't. So that's also dumb, and you're stupid if you think that. There are some other ones, but I think that's about it. So there are some people saying that apparently these people, there's rumors, I don't know how true this is, that these people, the org that they are acting for has ties to the oil industry in some way. And obviously that's cringe. Some people speculate it might have been a way to make climate activists look bad, actually, which if that was the case, they kind of got that desired result, unfortunately, because you could just predict the outrage that people would have. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I've heard. I don't necessarily give a damn about these two people. I don't care that they threw soup on Van Gogh painting either. The museum said that the painting was unharmed, so maybe the wall was harmed. Maybe there's some skin residue left when they had to tear their hands that were glued to the wall off. Maybe some paint chips fell off and you got to spend a little bit of money to get a maintenance guy to cover that up with some paint. But overall, no harm, no foul. These people got arrested. They got arrested in Europe or the UK or wherever this is. So they even got like a fair deal. There's some whites out here, assumedly. So they're probably fine with that as well. I don't care about these people at all. I care about the cause that they purport to care about. That's really it. And the idea that a man self-immolates, it's not enough. These people throw soup, and here we are. It's just like, I can have my criticisms of the method. Because like, I don't know why the fuck a Van Gogh painting either. Like, there could be any other paintings you could throw soup at, right? I get that the soup is like tomato soup, and it's Andy Warhol, and it's a reference, and blah, 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 blah. There could be some like commodification undertones in that. I don't, whatever. Like, my critique is more about the reaction rather than the people doing it and the methods that they chose. Because frankly, I think burning yourself alive at the steps of the building that houses some of the most powerful people in the world is a bit more direct and to the point. But you know, Pixar, it didn't happen, so whatever, I guess. It's just annoying. This entire fiasco is completely pointless. What we need to care about is climate change and forcing the hand of our governments the world over to move toward green energy and away from fossil fuels as much as is possible. Also try to promote some culture and some habits within individual people and trying to lessen their carbon footprint. But really, it's the most powerful people, these multinational corporations, these governments that have the most power to do anything about it. And it's going to be a shit show. If you're a right-winger watching this and you're upset about immigrants coming to your country, well, good luck, because once certain parts of the world, like the Middle East, where these spooky brown people come from, are uninhabitable because of climate change, which you might not even think exists, but you're about to find out the hard way, if so, you're not going to be having a great time. And it's going to lead to all manner of civil unrest. Obviously, the places that become uninhabitable, those people are going to be hurt the worst. And they're going to have to flee their countries to get to places that aren't literal hell for like 90% of the year. And it's going to hurt the people that are doing the worst the most. The global south. It's going to hurt the most. Because these places have been, colonized, imperialized, kept low because of the fact that the countries in like Eastern Europe and the United States and North America have to be on top. It's a shit show. And they're going to suffer the most. There's going to be migration crises, and then you're going to suffer the most if you happen to be in a safer place that's not as in trouble with climate change, like me, for instance, in Seattle. But I'm glad as many people as possible moves to Seattle as possible is good. But Seattle's got to start building more goddamn housing and stop doing these stupid-ass zoning policies and design review bullshit and just build the fucking houses. Literally, turn every single golf course that is possible into parks and housing projects. Come on, let's go. Yeah, anyway, good luck, good luck, good luck. Best of luck. Hope you had fun. See you on the next one, and, yeah.